Jeremy Mayfield stormed through Pocono. Now he leads the Cup gang to wine country for a little San Fran road rage at Sears Point. Consistency's the key for the Iceman. It worked in '96. Now he's trying to get it back.
We can be more consistent. We can win more races. And, you know, you got to have those top 5 finishes to win a championship.
Kevin LePage is racing sponsor-free. And now the forgotten racer is chasing down Kenny Irwin for the '98 Rookie Club title. We'll give you a little update of the Joe Falk team.
There's been a lot of firsts for Kevin LePage this year, and I really think that, you know, the maturity, the age, the experience, I think this is really has been my year to prove to everybody that I can get the job done.
Saturday night racing's hitting the beach for a little run under the lights. We'll preview Daytona's 4th of July light show. It's time for a little wine, cheese, and race fumes. We're off to Sears Point.
And you're going inside NASCAR.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday edition of Inside NASCAR. Road course racing taking center stage this afternoon with events at Sears Point and Watkins Glen. The big news out in California, they've taken away one thing and added something called the chute. Here now to give us the lowdown from Sonoma is Ned Jarrett and Tyler Parner. Take it away, guys.
Well, thanks, Bill, and good morning, everyone. The sun is shining here in Northern California, even though it's early right now, but we're up and at 'em and ready to go. The weather has been absolutely gorgeous since the NASCAR Winston Cup Series moved in here on Friday morning in preparation for the Save Mark Cragen 350, which gets underway a little bit later on here today. But Tyler Potter, one of the stories here has been the reconfiguration of the racetrack and a thing they call the chute.
The chute's been a hot topic of debate, Ned. Now it connects turns 4 through 7, eliminates the carousel turns from last year. Now that's going to make it more difficult for the guys to pass on. The person most instrumental in making this happen, Speedway Motorsports President Humpy Wheeler.
Humpy Wheeler was out here last year and got his first look at the track in a NASCAR configuration and noticed that we had this area where they had to make a couple of sharp turns and cut way down out of view of the fans, and said, why don't you put a little bypass across there, go right from turn 4 to turn 7. And the more we looked at it, the more we realized it really would be a great configuration for stock cars. And it took about a half mile off the track and managed to bring the speeds up, and we were able to add more laps, and the action takes place right in front of the fans.
Well, I'm not so sure that I like it or don't like it. You know, it's pretty neat. You know, it's probably made the racetrack a little easier. It's took away a place that I was pretty good at passing cars. So, you know, you don't know because you haven't raced here. So I don't know if it'll bend towards our style or us or some of the others.
It's been a busy week for Jeremy Mayfield, who picked up his first Winston Cup win last Sunday at Pocono. Along the way to California, he's done autograph signings, radio shows, you name it. It doesn't hurt being the points leader either.
It's been real exciting, and probably the biggest thing is knowing that all the support that I do have out there, the fan base, everybody's been totally supportive. You walk in the garage area this morning, and everybody's drivers, crew chiefs, owners, not only fans, but everybody's been supportive of it. But I think it's just great.
It's been an interesting weekend for Kevin LePage. Friday, he confirmed he was going to Roush Racing sometime in the immediate future. Saturday, Roush issued a release saying it had retained LePage's services with an option of signing him to a multi-year contract. Rumor has it he'll be replacing Ted Musgrave in the 16 car. The other scenario has him driving a second Wood Brothers car.
I think it all started when Dale Earnhardt called me and wanted me to drive the 1 car for Steve Park after the injury. And yeah, I think everybody started taking notice of Kevin LePage and what we were doing with, you know, the race team we got. You know, no sponsor and very few people, but we were making races. Yeah, that's just a testimony of what kind of race team we have and the people that surrounded Kevin LePage. And, you know, Jack feels, I guess, that, you know, we can help that program out, or Jack Roush out with any program they put us in. And, you know, I'm just excited to be able to work with the guys, Mark and Jeff and Chad and Ted and, you know, Johnny. I mean, just all of them. It's just a great feeling. And it's something that every driver wish they could be part of a top-notch race team. And
just after second-round qualifying, LePage was replaced in the 91 by Trans Am veteran Tommy Kendall after he failed to make the race in the 46 Samco car. In other news, Tyler Jet Motorsports makes its Winston Cup debut later today with truck driver Ron Hornaday. He'll be in the number 17 Napa Chevy, who, by the way, is sponsoring this year's Brickyard 400. Robbie Gordon's filling in the 96 this week because of his road course prowess. Morgan Shepherd will drive the car next week at Daytona. Former driver David Green is now with Team 34 Racing in the Busch Series, replacing Matt Hutter in the Stanley Pontiac. A quick injury update, Ken Schrader still sore and still bruised from last week's crash at Pocono, but he'll start today. So will Lake Speed, but look for Winston West champ Butch Gilliland to relieve him at the first pit stop. Lake bruised his ribs in a practice crash Friday. There were a couple of birthdays this weekend. Kevin LePage turned 36 Saturday, the same day Johnny Benson turned 35. Benson blew out his birthday candles, then unveiled his new Betty Crocker car for next week's Pepsi 400 in Daytona. Finally, Rusty Wallace played policeman Wednesday in a most unique Speedway promotion. He was riding in a California Highway Patrol car, handing out tickets to people who were obeying the law. The tickets were actually tickets to the race.
We really confused a lot of people because I was out there in a police car and pulling people over, and I was ticketing them for driving the speed limit. So it was pretty cool because every time we pull them over, they'd go, oh man, what do I do now? And then when I would walk up there and I'd give them 2 tickets to the race for obeying the speed limit and wearing their seatbelt, they went from total fear to total excitement. And the people were out there lined up wanting to get pulled over. One thing had happened, I pulled a couple over driving a blue pickup truck, and they jumped out, and they had a dog with a Rusty Wallace leash, and the lady had number 2 earrings, so it was pretty exciting.
Ned, pretty amazing. You think about it, Rusty could have pulled over anybody. This particular couple, not only the dog had a collar and leash of Rusty Wallace, but the wife had Rusty jewelry on. What are the odds of that?
That's amazing, but he's got fans everywhere, no doubt about it. That had to be a lot of fun. Well, Phil, that's about it from here now. We'll be back with the qualifying report a little later on.
That's great. Thanks, gentlemen. We'll see you again shortly. Right now, we're going to take a short break, but when we return, as promised, we'll set the field for the Save Mart Cragen 350. Plus, we'll tell you how the lineup for this afternoon's Lysol 200 at Watkins Glen. Some interesting surprises there as well. So grab another cup of Joe and let the dog out. Inside NASCAR rolls back your way right after this.
Inside NASCAR is brought to you by Miller Lite, who reminds you that whenever you feel good, it's Miller time.
And welcome back to Inside NASCAR. You know, before the green flag flies at Sears Point, the Lysol 200 will be run at Watkins Glen, New York for the NASCAR Busch Series. Bohr Said on the pole and Jimmy Spencer's Zippo Chevy. And you know, out west, it seems like qualifying is almost automatic this season for Jeff Gordon. 1 pole in 97, but the Rainbow Warriors kicking it in 98. 2 straight poles for Gordo. 3 of the last 4, 4 of the last 6, 5 of the last 7. But not everything true to form like Gordon. Here again to tell us about Bud Pole qualifying, Ned and Tyler.
Well, thanks again, Phil. Bud Pole qualifying here at the Sears Point Road Course on Friday afternoon was interesting to say the least. You never know what's going to happen when they qualify on a road course. And some surprises up front when it was all over. And Tyler, some surprises also. Some drivers back in the field that we normally see up front. Drivers like Rusty Wallace, Mark Martin, Ricky Rudd, and Terry Labonte. They had their problems, but certainly Jeff Gordon was right on.
Jeff Gordon was right on, Ned. He broke through last year with his first ever road course win that came at Watkins Glen. And you just know he'd love to win here at Sears Point. He was born in Vallejo. It's about 20 miles here from the track. He was fastest in Friday morning practice. He was fastest in qualifying, too. Gordon was the second car out, and the DuPont driver wasted no time establishing a new track record on Sears Point's new 2-mile layout. Rookie of the Year candidate Jerry Nadeau would post the second fastest time of the day at 71.228 seconds. He'll start next to Gordon in row 1.
It was a good lap. I mean, first off, we didn't think it was going to be that good. I mean, we had trouble when we first got here. We had problems with the engine, and we got it squared away. And we got about 2 laps of clean laps in practice, and I was a little bit worried, and you know what to do to the car. And then finally we went out, and the car was real loose. Man, everywhere I went in turn 1, I was sideways, turn 2 sideways, turn 3 sideways, and I said, this is not going to be good. And I got through the checker, and I seen the guy give me a thumbs up. I said, it must be good. So I'm pretty happy for the team. They worked their butts off, and they needed this for momentum.
Jeff Bodine had his best qualifying run in 4 months. He'll roll off 4th after tackling the 10-turn course in a speed of 98.077 miles per hour. Bodine got a boost from Waddell Wilson, who was hired this week as VP of Racing Operations for Matei Motorsports. Defending champ Mark Martin fell victim to the chute in his lap, sliding off the course. Then he nearly scraped the wall in turn 7. Only 2 drivers have ever won this race while starting outside the top 10. Rusty Wallace in 1990 from the 11th spot, and the late Davey Allison in 91 from the 13th position. Martin starts 26 today.
Yeah, I feel like I buried ourselves, you know. There's nothing I can do about it. We're buried, and we're going to try to work our way out of it. But, you know, there's some other good ones back there, and that's racing. I wish it hadn't happened, but it did.
Provisionals went to Wally Dallenbach, Dick Trickle, Steve Grissom, Lake Speed, Derek Cope, Tommy Kendall, and Bill Elliott. Dave Marcus and Todd Bodine went home.
And joining Ned Jarrett and myself is the pole sitter, Jeff Gordon. Jeff, congratulations, your first ever road course pole. It's your 5th pole in the last 7 races. No doubt you guys were probably helped by testing here.
Definitely. I think we've got our transmission figured out for qualifying, and that's a big part of coming to a track like Sonoma that has made such a big change from the last time we were here. They shortened the track with this new chute, and testing was a big factor, and hopefully it'll be a big factor on Sunday also.
Jeff, there's been a lot of talk about maybe it won't be as easy to pass on this racetrack. What do you think?
Well, I agree with that because there's basically 3 passing sections on the track, and really only 2 of them you could really utilize, and now there's just 1. You could pass going into turn 11, but they took out the passing zone going into turn 7, so it's going to make for, I think, a closer race because I think you can't get as much of an advantage with fewer corners, but it's going to be real tough to pass.
Well, of course, he'll be starting out front. He don't have to worry about passing. Phil, that's about it from here. Back to you.
Thanks, guys, and thanks, too, to Jeff for stopping by. Well, that's going to do it for now. Stay tuned. We have a great show lined up for you when you come back. But as we go to break, here's a look at the first 5 rows for the Save Mart Cragen 350. Inside NASCAR returns in just a moment.
Welcome back to the feature portion of Inside NASCAR. I'm Ned Jarrett along with Phil Wurz. The NASCAR Winston Cup drivers and teams will run on the Sears Point Road Course in Sonoma, California tomorrow afternoon. And Phil, it's always a nice diversion to go to a road course, but this time the drivers have a little extra challenge.
Yeah, they've taken out that carousel turn, Ned. A great place for them to pass. Some of their drivers are a little critical of it, but looking forward to going out there.
Well, a couple of guys who have won on that road course in the past, Ernie Irvin and Mark Martin, takes us on the inside line.
It's one of the premier road courses in America.
At the start-finish line at Sears Point, there's a gradual left-hand turn that's very high speed.
You're still wide open.
As you turn and go up the hill toward turn 1.
And you're downshifting, you get down into 3rd gear, and you turn in turn 2, and it's a right-hander.
And then from there, you go across a short little straightaway, you go down through a hole.
And then right now is where the track has changed. From 3A, you'll go directly over to turn 7. So the corkscrew that everybody used to always remember, that was where some passes have happened. Now it's going downhill, and it's an off-camber turn into turn 7.
Which starts the beginning of a series of S turns.
That's still the same, but it's going to be a lot higher speed S's.
And then you go down to another hairpin turn. It's a very slow 2nd gear turn, probably 30 miles an hour right in the center of that corner, 40 miles an hour. You get real slow right there. And then you make a right-hand turn there and accelerate back up to the start-finish line.
Well, thanks, guys. Now let's take a look at what the guys were talking about, the changes that have been made. This is the track in its old configuration. Now, here's what they have done. They basically went from turn 3A down to turn 7, cut out that hairpin carousel, as they called it, and, of course, it'll make a much shorter racetrack, and here's the configuration now.
And Ned, when Jeff Gordon tested out there in May, cut his lap times by 25 seconds, so obviously there's going to be a new track record, but albeit an asterisk beside it.
Well, next week they go from the road course at Sears Point, California to the Daytona International Speedway for the running of the Pepsi 400, and for the first time ever, it'll be run under the lights. And Phil, a little bit of different work that goes on the race cars running at night.
And that's going to be exciting at Daytona. Awesome under the lights. But yeah, you're right. There is obviously a problem with daylight, but there are other things that teams do to adapt from daylight to nighttime racing.
Well, let's go in tech and find out about some of those things they do.
Hi, my name is Andy Papathonasiou. I'm pit crew coach for the Rainbow Warriors, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about the difference between day racing and night racing for the Winston Cup cars. First, at night, we don't have to tape the windshield. We use black duct tape normally and tape up part of the windshield so the sun doesn't get in the driver's eye. At night, there is no sun. We could take all of that tape off the windshield. That lets the driver see more through his windshield, gives him a better view of the racetrack. Another thing we do at night is put more tape on the grill. The air is cooler at night. We need less air to get to the radiator to keep the car cool. We can put more tape on the grill. This allows the car to be more aerodynamic and lets us turn faster lap times. In the pits, our biggest problem is the lack of light. We combat this problem several ways. First, we'll use flashlights and spotlights in the pit to illuminate the left side of the car. This lets the jackman, gasman, and tire changers see the left side a lot better. Another thing we'll do to the equipment itself is use fluorescent paint. Here's a stock lug nut right out of the box. This is what we'll use for our day races on the Winston Cup circuit. At night, we'll paint the face of it fluorescent pink. This will allow the tire changers to see the lug nuts better, to hit them easier with the gun. It also lets our tire carriers spot lug nuts more easily if a lug nut falls off. And those are some of the changes that take place from day racing to night racing for the Rainbow Warriors.
Now let's change gears to the people side of the sport. And Phil, there's one team on the circuit, unsponsored. The car owner is Joe Falk, driver Kevin LePage, a rookie on the circuit this year, but really they've had a lot of success.
Not nearly the money that the big teams have, but they have been very competitive. Kevin LePage was 5th in qualifying at Michigan. They've been competitive, and LePage, without a doubt, one of the most underrated drivers in this sport.
Stephanie Boyd-Durner has their story.
If it's true that everybody loves an underdog, then NASCAR fans must be crazy about Kevin LePage. The Winston Cup rookie has been running all year without a full-time sponsor and running surprisingly well, all things considered. A pair of 14th place finishes at Atlanta and Talladega are his best finishes this year, but qualifying is where he's been especially impressive. Although he's missed 2 races in the 91 car, he's qualified first round in half of this year's events, including a 5th place start at Michigan 2 weeks ago.
I can't figure out why we can't get that one main, sponsor. We're doing a lot with very little, but, on the other hand, we know that it's late in the season. A lot of sponsorships are done for this year. We're talking to people for next year, but, you still need to have money to run, on a competitive basis every week. But when we make the races like we did a couple weeks ago at Michigan, qualifying 5th, and here we are, we look around, there's Gordon and, Rusty and Mark and all these guys with big corporate sponsors, and here we are with no major funding, and it's just a testimony of what kind of race team we built here.
The guys who are responsible for that building process are LePage, crew chief Doug Richard and his crew, and above all, team owner Joe Falk, who has been fielding the operation out of his own pocket.
Everybody that works here for us could be somewhere else making more money because we're not paying what everybody else is paying. And Doug Richard had a great deal on the truck series, and he saw what we had and what chance we had with Kevin, and he came here and gave up a really good deal to be with Joe Falk and Kevin LePage.
A former driver himself, Falk says it's the love of the sport that has kept him going through these trying times. Originally, the team was only going to run 5 to 10 races this year, but now they're committed through the end of the season. A couple of one-off sponsorships have helped, along with any winnings they can bring home. Falk says everything they make goes into the race car. In fact, the team even went without uniforms until a uniform company came on board as an associate sponsor to provide them.
Every little bit helps. We had at Pocono this weekend, a guy walked up and gave us $1,500. He said, "I see you're struggling, I just want to help. And I want to buy you a set of tires." Well, in the big scheme of things, it's not a lot, but it's a lot to me because it means we are doing something right.
That may be an understatement. Although the team's record this year is impressive by itself, LePage says they can't even attempt to reach their ultimate potential.
Yeah, if you look at the qualifying or the practice sheets every weekend, you see the 91 Chevrolet usually down in the bottom. I just can't go out and take a chance during practice to wreck the race car. I know how hard it is and how expensive it is to fix that race car for a next race somewhere down the road. So I go out and I just try to get the car where it's close, and then hopefully, you know, we got a decent setup for qualifying. And then in the race, you know, I know how hard it is to, you know, replace a fender. You know, I can't take a chance that most drivers would to, well, if I've got an 8th place car, maybe I can get 5th out of it. If I've got a 15th, maybe I can get 10th out of it, and maybe tear up the race car. So, you know, there's a lot of things that play on my mind behind the steering wheel, and I just try to do what I can, you know, with what I got to work with.
While LePage says the team has to take a conservative approach, he's still in the thick of the rookie battle with Kenny Irwin. A battle that for much of the season has seen his name constantly omitted by both the media and the fans.
When we made the announcement down in Daytona that I was going to run for Rookie of the Year, Jeff Motley, who heads the rookie program, was like, "You are?" I said, "Yeah, I mean, if we land a major sponsor 4 races in, then I didn't want to lose the 4 races that, you know, that was starting at the beginning of the season. So we figured we'd sign up for it and you know, do what we could." And then when we went and made the announcement with the 4 rookies and the question and answer at the Speedway, I sat next to Kenny Irwin, and he didn't even know my name.
That's not a problem now, though. The fact that LePage has been able to do so much with so little has had other car owners sitting up and taking notice. And it has even his immediate future up in the air.
It definitely has been interesting the last month or so. You know, a lot of car owners have called, and, you know, I've listened to everybody. Right now, I haven't made a decision, you know, what my plans are. You know, right now, Joe and Shirley Falk gave me an opportunity to showcase my talent, and I'm going to do the best job I can for what they're giving me. And hopefully something can come together with this whole race team as far as major sponsorship and, you know, help our program. But on the other hand, you know, I also need to look out for Kevin LePage. And, you know, we're just playing day by day and see what happens.
Well, thank you, Steph. And Phil, you have to wonder, if that team had the big bucks that most other teams have, what could they be doing?
But Ned, in the meantime, Kevin LePage is earning quite a reputation for himself in this sport. He says the phone's been ringing quite a bit for some opportunities, but says he wants to wait for the right opportunity and perhaps a big one.
Well, we're going to have to take an opportunity to go to break right now. When we come back, lots more on Inside NASCAR. You stay with us.
Coming up, we'll shed some light on Daytona's new toys and go inside the speed of light. NASCAR teams get in the paint and show off some wild looks. We'll look at the color of speed and the new paint schemes hitting the track. Plus, go in focus with 96 Winston Cup champ Terry Labonte when Inside NASCAR returns.
One of the high-profile events of 1998 is the Pepsi 400, which will be run under the lights next weekend at the Daytona International Speedway. And Phil, 5 years ago, I don't think any of us would have dreamed that we'd see a track that big running races at night.
Yeah, that is just a massive undertaking, and the company that was awarded the project, Musco Lighting, it is their largest project to date. This company has lit Charlotte, Bristol, and Richmond, but this one by far their largest, and one that they've done with relative ease. Ever since they ran on the beaches, racing and Daytona have gone hand in hand. Daytona has written many memorable chapters in NASCAR Winston Cup racing over the years, moments that have earned the 2.5-mile tri-oval the title of World Center of Racing. Most recently, Dale Earnhardt wrote his name in the record books as he won his first Daytona 500. And next weekend, more history will be written as a race will be run at Daytona under the lights for the first time ever. Back in February, Earnhardt gave us the first glimpse of what the lighted stage at Daytona will be like for NASCAR as he ran 20 laps under the lights in his Goodwrench Monte Carlo.
I can't wait to see all the cars out there together and be in front.
At that time, only 40% of the lighting project was completed, a job recently finished by Musco. This is the same company that has illuminated Charlotte and Bristol Motor Speedways, the Rose Bowl, and many other venues. It's a tedious process, painstakingly researched for hours at Musco's headquarters in Iowa before even attempting to light such a massive site as Daytona International Speedway.
I'm actually kind of in awe of this whole thing when I look at it. I mean, we've done, we probably do 1,500, 2,000 sports lighting projects a year, so you get a little jaundiced about some of these things, Super Bowls and so forth, but still one of those things I sit here and just kind of look at it and wonder, did we really do this thing? It's amazing.
But the Daytona lighting project by far is the largest ever undertaken by the folks at Musco. In fact, the Pepsi 400 will be the world's largest nighttime sporting event. It's been almost 1 year since Musco was awarded the job, and it's now finished. Enough lights have played end to end to stretch from Musco's headquarters in Iowa all the way to Daytona.
It was, with all the experience we've had, it was still a really challenging project. Sheer size, it's an older track, and so there's a lot of things you have to deal with. First thing we had to do when we started the project, we started looking for the drawings and everything, found out the track's been built in so many pieces over the years, we had to go hire a survey firm and come in and actually create our own survey of the track so that we could have a complete drawing to work from.
By the time the Pepsi 400 gets here, we expect to sell out, and we expect this to be probably the second biggest race, certainly in Daytona, if not the whole NASCAR Winston Cup season.
A couple of weeks ago, about 15 Winston Cup teams tested under the full lighting system in preparation for the big event. And by all accounts, drivers are looking forward to making history under the lights.
Tell you what, it's awesome. I tell you, it's really neat, you know, getting to go overseas and race, and you know, some of the things, Fontana and some of the places, Texas, some of the places that we've got to go and be kind of pioneers. It's pretty awesome, and you know, I'm really looking forward to it. I'd like qualifying to go kind of like it went last year and be a good run for the 31 car.
You'll be able to go down there under the lights. You get to see what, you know, what it's going to kind of be all about, but it's going to be a totally different story when we roll out, like in happy hour, when everybody's there. It's going to be different than running by yourself.
They did a real good job lighting it, and, you know, as far as us out there running, you never think about it, but it's a lot cooler. You know, the daytime, you come in about 3 in the evening, it's pretty warm, and it starts cooling off, but it's going to be real good for the fans, for the drivers, and I'm looking forward to it.
Night racing is the greatest thing in the world, I think. I'd like to see us do it more and more, and I think obviously that's the trend, but for a speedway like Daytona to step up and do it and have it on the 4th of July on a Saturday night, that's exciting.
It's another historic event in racing. It'll be the first primetime event. It's been fun for us to watch. We've been involved in a lot of sports lighting over the years. We've watched a lot of sports change because of the effect of lighting, and I've never seen anything that we've gotten involved in where the effect on the sport has been as dramatic and as it has been for racing. 1992, when we did Charlotte, television just wasn't a factor. Today, it's prime time. It's amazing.
You guys light this place. What do you do to top this?
I'm not sure. I think this is the granddaddy. I don't know what the next big thing would be. This is one we've always hoped we'd get a chance to do someday.
Ned, obviously you've raced at Daytona before. What do you think about running there now under the lights?
Oh, I love night racing. Don't know how it's going to be on that big track, but really looking forward to it. And you know, that's a very high-profile event. CBS television will be televising it in prime time next Saturday night, and a lot of sponsors try to take advantage of that prime time television with paint schemes.
Yeah, and there we saw Jeff Gordon at Charlotte with his Chrome Illusion car that changed color under the lights, $37 an ounce. But you see the cars like Rusty's and the others out there, you almost need Michelangelo to paint these things. They're under such great detail.
Well, Stephanie Boyd-Durner has a story on paint schemes.
You've seen them before, whether it's the Iron Man, Elvis, or Jurassic Park. They're special paint schemes, and ever since Dale Earnhardt sported a silver one during the Winston in 1995, in honor of R.J. Reynolds' 25th anniversary in NASCAR, the floodgates have opened on a whole new market. Next weekend's inaugural running under the lights at Daytona is the perfect showcase for a special paint scheme. And among them will be First Union's recognition of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, Major League Baseball's new expansion team. And on the football side, Petty Enterprises will jazz up the exact machine driven by a number of NFL rookies at the Petty School in Orlando last month. But redoing a car for just 1 or 2 races isn't as simple as it sounds. Just ask the guys from MB2 Motorsports who are working on their 3rd paint scheme of the year. First, there's the usual Skittles colors. Then at Vegas, there was the M&M car. Now it's on to the Pepsi 400, where Ernie Irvan will drive the Wildberry Skittles Pontiac.
Anytime you get to break out a new paint scheme, you know, the fans get excited about it. All the spectators, you know, it brings some new pizzazz. And you know, here with the Wildberry car, it's the first time they've ever done this, and being able to drive it at Daytona under the lights, I think this Wildberry car is going to really look neat when the lights are shining down on it.
To prepare for their new look, the guys at MB2 had to strip all the old decals, sand down the existing paint, primer the car, apply the new paint, put on the Wildberry decals, and do it all over again for a backup car. And that doesn't even include the design process or redoing the team's uniforms and helmets.
To transform the original Skittles Pontiac to the Wildberry Skittles Pontiac was a 6-step process. We received the drawing in February in Daytona. We received NASCAR's approval in March in Darlington. The uniforms were ordered from Simpson April 1st, which we received in June. The paint and decals were approved June 1st. The car was actually painted June 8th. The car was decaled June 22nd and 23rd by Motorsports Designs.
There are a lot of reasons for running a different paint scheme, from product promotion in Irvin's case to simple awareness of a worthy cause. Then, of course, there's always the collectibles market, where a special car can rake in some pretty hefty bucks.
That's big business. Thank you, Stephanie. We'll be back with more on Inside NASCAR right after this break.
I never really dreamed that the sport would get as big as it is today. And I think that's one thing that I was so excited about winning the championship in 1996, because back in 1984, there were a lot of people that were fans today that weren't fans in 1984, you know, so it's changed an awful lot.
Welcome back to Inside NASCAR. NASCAR is celebrating its 50th anniversary in 1998, and each week we take a look at the career of some of NASCAR's great drivers, and this week we profile Ricky Rudd.
Chesapeake, Virginia native Ricky Rudd ran his first Winston Cup race in 1975 for Bill Champion. He competed for and won the Rookie of the Year honors in 1977, driving for his father Al. He has the longest active winning streak in Winston Cup, with a total of 15 dating back to 1983. His very first win was at Riverside, and then he backed it up with a victory at Martinsville. He started second alongside pole sitter Darrell Waltrip. In this race, Rudd had to fend off drivers like Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt, and eventual 1983 champion Bobby Allison to take his second Winston Cup victory, driving the Piedmont Airlines Chevrolet for Richard Childress. He's considered a road race ace. He proved this to be true once again on June 11, 1989, when he won the inaugural race at Sears Point in Sonoma, California. He had his hands full, holding off a very determined Rusty Wallace for the victory.
And I think that's what happened to him. I saw him quickly start fading. I saw his car starting getting really loose under the accelerator. And I just tried not to slip a tire, either getting into the corner or on the exit of the corner. I just wouldn't slip a tire. And what it did, it gave my car staying power. And then as the race progressed, then my car got stronger. The last 10 laps of the race, though, it wasn't nothing too pretty or smooth about it. I just had to really hang it out and let the tires chew up. And it surprised me they stayed with me as long as they did.
The 1977 Winston Cup Rookie of the Year with 19 career victories and more than 200 top 10s. Ricky Rudd, a driver's driver from 50 years of NASCAR.
I feel Ricky Rudd has had a great career, but he's looking to extend his win streak. He's won 15 years in a row in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series.
He's kind of struggled this year, Neb, but that first win this year could come at Sears Point. He won the first event there in 1989 and a 4-time pole sitter at Sears Point.
He is a good road racer. We'll go in focus with another good road racer, Terry Labonte, right after this break.
Hi, I'm Ward Barton, driver of the MB&A Pontiac. And I'd just like to say thanks to all the France family and NASCAR for everything they do for all the drivers, all the crew members, all the car owners, and all the fans of making this the greatest sport there is in America. Thanks again.
Texas Terry Labonte came on the NASCAR Winston Cup scene in the late 70s, and Phil, he has become one of the most consistent drivers over the years in the series.
Ned, that's the key word, consistency. I think if you open up the dictionary, you'd find Terry's picture next to the word consistency. It's that adjective that has led him to the championships in 84 and 96, doing again in 98, a win in Richmond, and Mr. Consistency is there again, the points.
Well, let's go in focus with Terry Labonte.
1996 Winston Cup champion Terry Labonte is determined as ever to get back to the pinnacle of his sport, but it's a good news, bad news situation for Labonte after 15 races. The good news, he's 5th in points. Bad news is there are 4 quality guys ahead of him: Mark Martin, Dale Jarrett, Jeff Gordon, and Jeremy Mayfield, who's 200 points ahead of Terry.
They're not going to all have problems with one weekend. So it's easy to lose that many points in one weekend, but it's hard to make them up. It's going to take 6 or 7 races, you know, to get back close again to them, I feel like.
Are you more relaxed this year as opposed to last year when you were trying to defend the championship?
I don't really think there's any difference. You know, last year we, you know, we really kind of felt the same way, I feel like, as far as this year goes. You know, we'd won the championship the year before, and so that probably took a lot of pressure off of us, wanting to win the championship so bad, and then coming back next year, you know, it's hard to win at any time, and it's really hard to defend the title. But I think we were pretty relaxed. I think it might have got a little tense towards the second half of the year when we weren't doing as well as we needed to be doing. But this year, I really feel like we're kind of off to the same start.
You've got 2 championships. What would it mean to you to win a 3rd if you are so fortunate enough to do so?
Well, I think it would be very exciting, you know, of course, to win another championship, and that's what we sure want to do, is win another one. And I think we've got a team that's capable of doing that. You know, whether or not it's this year or not, I'm not sure. You know, I think we can come close this year. It's going to be important for us to come back the second half stronger than the first half, and I think we can do that. But I think we've got what it takes here, you know, to build a championship team, and I think that's important.
Crew chief Andy Graves is a big part of that. After spending the 97 season with the Hendrick-owned 25 car, Graves was reunited with Labonte this year following former crew chief Gary Dehart's departure. In 96, Graves was Dehart's right-hand man, serving as assistant crew chief when Terry won it all.
If I had to pick somebody, you know, when Gary Dehart left to replace him, Andy was my first choice. You know, I said, if we can get Andy Graves, I think we'll be good. And otherwise, it was going to be tough to find somebody that could fill in and take Gary's place. You know, and Andy, I feel like, was the only guy that could do it because he had worked with Gary so long, and we kind of all thought alike, I felt like, so it was a perfect choice.
Your consistency this year has probably been the best it's ever been. The reason I say that is because with the Michigan race, it was your 14th straight finish in one season. That's a personal best for you.
Well, as far as that goes, that's good, but we still don't have the consistency that we need as far as being a contender every week. You know, we can go out and we can really run good and have a chance to win. And then the next weekend, we can go and we can struggle and not finish in the top 10. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to be more consistent on our finishes and our good runs, things like that. So, you know, overall, I've got to be pretty happy with our performance the first half, but it's got to be better the second half.
Incredibly, Sears Point will be Terry's 585th consecutive start. He set the Ironman record back in 1996 at Martinsville when he surpassed Richard Petty. The King had 513 straight starts. So how much longer will Terry go?
I really haven't thought about retiring, but it's not going to be anytime soon. So I still enjoy doing it. I still look forward to going to the races. It's especially a lot of fun when you're driving for a team like Hendrick Motorsports, that you're, you know, got a team that's capable of winning a championship and winning races. So I don't know.
How much more gratifying has it been for you to have achieved what you have in this sport, coming from Texas and not from North Carolina, because we all know North Carolina is the hotbed of NASCAR?
Well, not many people have the opportunity to come from Texas to be able to compete on the Winston Cup level. And so I was very lucky and was probably in the right place at the right time, the right circumstances to be able to do that. And so it's very exciting, I think, to be from down there, and especially now as big as the sport's grown, and there's a lot of fans in Texas today, and to go back down there, and I go back to Corpus quite a bit, and you can, even down there, you know, we're a long way from any kind of race, and you go down there and you go out and eat, and people recognize you all the time, and it kind of surprises me because, you know, but that just shows you the growth of the sport, I guess.
I've been meaning to ask you this for a long time. Are you a cornflakes kind of guy, or is there another Kellogg cereal you really like? Set the record straight for us, Terry.
I actually kind of like the sugar frosted flakes a little bit, but I can take cornflakes and put sugar on them. That's just about as good.
Have you met Tony the Tiger?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've met Tony the Tiger.
Are you close?
We're pretty tight, yeah.
And Phil, I guess Terry Labonte has a lot of people eating cereal these days.
Yeah, and I think you've had your mug on a box of cereal here or there, haven't you?
Yeah, DJ and I were on the Kellogg's Raisin brand a little bit earlier this year.
You know what, Tyler would probably look good on a box of Fruit Loops, maybe?
Yeah, he might do it. Hey, we'll be back with more on Inside NASCAR right after this.
The number 50's up front, and the guy putting it there is Wally Dallenbach. You'll go one-on-one with the veteran racer.
I'm really looking at what I need to do for next year. I'm not as concerned about the rest of the season as I am getting into a situation for next year. So hopefully this will open some doors and, you know, get something really good for next season.
Plus, we'll get in focus with Ron Hornaday as he sets his sights on Jack Sprague's Green Machine and the Craftsman Truck Series title. Next week, Inside NASCAR.
The Inside NASCAR mailbox is brought to you by Miller Lite. Our question today is from Tamala Bear from Fultz Run, Virginia. How much gas do the teams put in their cars for their qualifying run?
Hi, I'm Chris Webb, gas man for the 97 John Deere Ford Taurus driven by Chad Little. Tamala, to answer your question about fuel load during qualifying, cars do not necessarily have to go out with a full load of fuel. You can go out with a light load or half load, whatever the crew chief or driver desires. With that, going out with a light load, you have to make up the weight difference up to 3,400 pounds with lead ballast in the rails. Thank you for writing in.
If you have a question for the Inside NASCAR mailbox, write us at Inside NASCAR, Post Office Box 240417, Charlotte, North Carolina 28224. Or email us at inside.nascar@sunbeltvideo.com. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive this embroidered Miller Lite jacket and a cap and shirt from Chase Authentics, the authentic trackside apparel of NASCAR.
Well, that's all the time we have for this show. We hope you enjoyed it. And Phil, we'll go from the road course at Sonoma, California to Daytona under the lights.
That's going to be real exciting, Ned. Hard to believe, though, after the Pepsi 400, 17 of 33 races completed, halfway through.
Yeah, of course, we're going to be here every week. You join us again here on TNN for more on the Inside NASCAR.